My guest today is Constantina Stamou, and what I love about this is Constantina actually is Greek, and Greece, I had a love affair with Greece for a very, very long time, so it's a very special place to me, and the fact that, yeah, she has Greek origin is delightful for me. But yeah, I'm going to hand you over because she is a life and relationship coach. So Constantina, tell the audience and myself a little bit more about you.
Thank you, Wendy. And first of all, if I could say thank you for inviting me to your podcast. I'm very happy to be here. So yes, I'm a life and relationship coach. I've always been drawn to relationships even as a little child. My passion was about giving time to people and listening to them and making sure they are as happy in their friendships and in their partnerships and in their relationships as much as possible. If I could offer a slightly different perspective or a piece from my experience that could help them, it was always bringing me joy. So when the opportunity came to train into that field, to offer my services officially, I just took it with my eyes closed, and I've been very happy to be on this path of supporting individuals or couples who have been together for some time, but who reached a point where they feel that they lost their spark. They feel that they lost the chemistry, and they started to question whether the relationship is right for them. They feel more like siblings, or they feel that there's emotional distance, and they struggle to kind of bridge the gap. And so they've tried a number of things, and they feel that at this point they would be it will help them very much if they have external support. And so that's when I come in.
Yes, and I think that a lot of my clients are a similar situation. I identify with that. It becomes that, and I've been in relationships myself where it's been like that. You know, you just get too comfortable, and then it becomes routine, and you that spark goes, doesn't it? And it's, yeah, and you try and encourage couples to go, well, how can you bring that back? Well, and it's just they've got into that daily routine, and it's boring, and it's comfortable, but too comfortable.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for some people, it feels that it's the gap. They cannot imagine how they can bridge it. They feel that it can be, or they interpret it as something permanent, that there's no way to turn things around, that they feel that there's all the work falls into their lap, and they think it's too much. They want their partner to pick up the ball, and there's a clash of beliefs, the clash of who should be responsible for that. And so all it does is really it creates more friction, and it increases the distance between them. But it's what we do is really important. It's we can bring that reminder into people's lives that actually you can turn around your relationship at any point. There are things you can do. There are things to help each other to get closer again. It's just that the longer you leave it, the harder it gets. It's better to be proactive. It's better to remember that we should not take people for granted, no matter how long we've been with them. And that if, of course, we choose to try to solve or to try to turn things around, if we're officially contemplating divorce, for instance, if we leave things to that extent, if we're talking about a married couple, the mountain is much higher to climb up than it would have been if that conversation had happened 2 years ago, let's say, or 6 months ago.
Yes. That's so very sad, isn't it? Because I find that, I'm sure as you do, that people, they leave it too late. They leave it, that becomes entrenched. Their habits are entrenched. That their resentments are entrenched, and they feel that there are things there that they've never spoken about, or they don't feel they can tackle, or they think it's going to cause an argument, or they just can't be bothered. And I think that's so sad. I think the sooner, like you, I agree, the sooner people seek that external support, I think the better. Do something about it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's also the fear that festers inside, like the longer it takes to make to the next step, or to create this new approach or this new habit, the harder it feels. And so we start to think that because there's something I'm afraid of, or I have this tendency to avoid, that I shouldn't be doing it. Whereas actually, no, this is quite the opposite. If there's something that you're afraid of doing, it's now a great opportunity to face it, gently. Or there can always be support, and that it's absolutely possible to be on the other side of that.
Yeah.
And the benefit of that is, of course, that you actually end up feeling and seeing your partner. You get closer to them, and you closer to the relationship you had at the beginning of the relationship you wanted to have. It's really worth taking that risk if it feels like a risk.
Yeah, because I think so many people think that, oh well, it's they're not the right person for me, the relationship's right, I'm going to try something new. But if you're carrying on the same patterns, you're going to take that pattern into the next relationship. And I remember, I think my daughter said once, you think the grass is always greener on the other side, but when you get there, you find actually the grass is dead.
Yes, absolutely.
I thought that was a bit extreme, but I got our point. Yeah. I think this is it. You think, oh well, I'll try with something new, somebody new, it's not always the way. It's better to improve on things, I think. Yeah, if you can.
Yeah, because we like you said, we might be having this great garden, but it's not. We're not looking at it. We're looking at the neighbor's garden, or we're looking at the field ahead. There's always this thought that, oh, I can do better, or maybe there isn't somebody better for me out there. Yeah. But I think we're thinking of people. If we're thinking of people as there's somebody better out there for me, it's like I think we're missing the person who's in front of us. We all have fundamentals in place. Like we all want to connect, we all want to feel loved, and we all want to feel that we can be there for somebody, and somebody can be there for us.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's possible to choose a partner who wants something different in life, and sure, that's not a good match. But if you have a partner and the relationship is good and it's satisfying and it fulfills most of your needs, to not trust that you made a good choice, that your partner could be there for you as you want them, without making the effort to prove that to you, or to check that out for yourself. I think it's like you're shortchanging yourself first. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that's right. I think you're very right, and I think my view is about not playing the blame game. There's nothing wrong with two people. It's two imperfect people trying to make the best of a relationship. And I always like to take the blame away from the people. Say the relationship's not working. So how can we together figure out what it is that's not working in that container, the relationship?
Very true. Indeed, shifting the focus to the relationship as opposed to the two people individually.
Yeah.
Coming from two different sides and looking at what these two people create for themselves, for each other, and how that can be changed or supported or facilitated or indeed improved. Absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
So how have you found your clients around, this COVID-19? What's it been like? What have you observed? What have you noticed?
From the people that I've worked with, being in a closed space after, in the circumstances that we have been, it has highlighted the challenges that they were facing already before the lockdown. So it's like now it has been impossible to avoid the mirror, let's say. And also that meant that all the outlets that they might had before the lockdown to release any tension or to keep on creating the distance that they needed, so at least the relationship was going to survive, they didn't have that anymore. And so now the tension was becoming palpable and unbearable. So for some people have decided to go ahead and get a divorce after quite a number of decades together. others, they realize that actually, okay, this is indeed the relationship that I want, but I don't know how to change the struggle that we are both facing. And so they have been actively looking for ways to get closer together, to cultivate again that emotional connection that they used to have, and they still believe in. It's just that they have started to doubt, and it makes it a little harder. So
so it's kind of one thing or another, isn't it? And I think there's some couples that I've noticed they've got much closer because they're spending time together.
Yes,
and they are actually talking to each other and actually enjoying the relationship and remembering what is good about it. And I think there's a whole raft of people, a whole groups of people who are really feeling much happier. And yet there are others who are, as you say, it's amplified all those things that weren't right in the first place, and so they can't escape it, and they've either got to work on it or walk away.
Yeah, I think it's like it's odd to say this, but it's like one of the gifts of the pandemic to kind of bring the person to a point where they can actually indeed make decisions about the next phase, either, like you said, to either walk away or do something about it and really change it. And indeed, like exactly like you said, like there've been couples who have been very happy with the lockdown. Some of them are going to become parents. Indeed, they realize that spending time with each other is what they've been missing from their life. And so after the lockdown, they've been making decisions on how to spend even more time with each other. So that is a deep, beautiful thing. And then sadly, yes, there have been the relationships that have been struggling with the lockdown. And it's what do you call it? I think it's, again, it kind of brings up the idea of how helpful it can be to be proactive about one's relationship, to not just settle in the idea that because I am with a partner, I'm going to be with that partner long term, even if that's my intention, without doing something about it. Successful couples, we hear them, they say it's work, it's a lot of work to stay together. But at the same time, they don't think of it as work. They think of it, it's a beautiful opportunity to spend more time with the partner that I want to be with. And how can I make their everyday beautiful? So it becomes a priority in their mind, right?
Yeah, and I think when people hear that they've got to work at the relationship, they hear work as being something hard and difficult. Whereas actually, it's I don't know, it's play, isn't it? It's enjoyable. And maybe we need to change the way people look at their relationship. It's not hard work. Of course it can be. I mean, no relationship is perfect. No one can get, you can fall in and out of love with a partner over the years, I think, quite a few times. Sure. But I think it's a case of, where's the fun? So although it's work, it should be pleasurable if you're enjoying being with somebody. It's finding how you can have fun again. And I think, I don't know about you, but I think too many people forget how to have fun, how to have enjoyment, where is that inner child that should come out to play more often in a relationship?
Absolutely. That's beautiful, yes. Exactly what you said. It's I think it becomes work when people have started to focus on other priorities. And so they have created these pathways in their mind that direct the focus somewhere else. And of course, on demand to shift that without making the shift in mind that says, actually, I want to focus on my relationship. What's bringing me joy and energy and a sense of fulfillment and of course, love and connection and a sense of belonging. So when the focus is only on what I want and what I want for my life to do, and whether I am tired only or whether I have these responsibilities, and I don't think about what we need, what would help us, what will help us feel even happier with each other. Yeah, of course, it will feel like a lot of work. But it actually, it's not. It's the same, I believe it's the same thing like focusing on your passion, the passion that somebody has for work or for hobby,
Mm.
and they don't feel that it's work. It's exactly the same thing. It's focusing on an experience that has certain activities in there that brings you this heart opening and joyful living. And it's just, in this case, it's your partner, and the experiences of life you share. So that's what makes it easy, really.
Yeah. Yes, I think I picked up there when you were talking about if you have a career and you're working towards a career that you love, or if you've got a pastime, or you're creative and maybe it's a hobby or something, and that finished article, or even the joy of going through it. But we sometimes forget how we do that in a relationship.
True. But I think it's because somewhere down the line, we stopped doing the things that were bringing us together. And it could have been just life, right? Of the silly circumstances. Let's say somebody just had to work longer hours, and so they get home and they feel tired. And the priority becomes to rest. Absolutely, yes, and it has to happen like that. But if you stay under these circumstances, like you keep on feeling tired and you keep on resting, and then the weeks and the months and the years start to pass without considering the question of, should I be feeling that tired? Or, okay, I'm coming back home from work and I'm resting, but actually I'm not spending time with my partner anymore. Should we start to date again, even if it's just for 10 minutes once a week? Like actively looking to maintain and sustain the habits and the actions and the offerings that keep bringing the people closer to each other, to keep on returning to the relationship, to keep on returning to actions of love and feelings of love and connection. Yeah. So that's, I think, how eventually some couples turn around and say, oh, actually things have changed. I don't know how we got there. It's because there hasn't been that monitoring, there hasn't been that checking that the relationship is still in a good state. Like, imagine, if you take somebody who's self-employed or who's building a business, right, or who's running a business. If you leave a business unattended, then the business, chances are, it's going to collapse at some point, or it will be gravely affected because nobody is paying attention to it. So relationships are not that different in that sense. Or a garden who's been unattended. Yeah, things change. So it's or even a body that puts on weight and loses it at some point, but they still that loss of weight has to be maintained with exercise and specific nutrition. You cannot just take it for granted that the body will stay thin or that the weight will not be put back on again because the milestone of losing it has been achieved. So I think it's about how we approach relationships and how we think about them and how we indeed take them for granted on some extent, that because we're together, we're going to stay together. And actually, no, that's not the case. We know that with very many couples who, after 2 decades together, they part because they don't feel that they have anything in common anymore. Yeah. Yeah, and I think sometimes they look at it in as much that it's we don't have the same hobbies, but I don't believe that is a reason for staying together, or you can't build a relationship on hobbies, let's put it that way, because we change. I mean, I think the way, if you're 16 and you're both mad on skateboarding, by the time you're 50, you're not going to go skateboard. It's not the same, is it? Absolutely. What is it that keeps you together? And you may have different hobbies, but that, I think, is brings enjoyment and kind of variety and brings freshness into the relationship. But I think sometimes, but we'll ask couples, what is it that you want in a partner? What is it that you enjoy with your partner? What is it that you're looking for? And when they say we like the same things, but it's not always the same pastimes that hold us together, because we can have very, very different hobbies or outlooks. But I think there is something about that willingness. I've seen people who have, you would never believe that they would be a couple, and yet, because they are so different, but they really make it work.
And I think that it's that willingness. There is something deeper as well in a relationship, rather than that surface things that people look at and say, yeah, well, he's got to have a nice body, or she's got to be attractive. Yeah, very important, the chemistry, but it's not that holds it, is it? It's that, as you say, that willingness.
Yeah, absolutely. And sharing experiences. I mean, that's the beauty with two people who are different, right? And they have, let's say, different hobbies. Each person will be bringing something different and new in the conversation, a new perspective in life, and a new type of learning. And so, like you said, it brings variety, and it's the spice of life. But it's also the willingness to accept the other person as they are, and with what they enjoy and what's been for them, and cultivating for them the time and the opportunity to explore those, and not just say, for instance, for a number of years, I was into the salsa scene in London. And so you would hear stories of people being in a couple, and they say, my partner doesn't want me to dance because they don't like dancing themselves. And so they don't understand how the environment works. So they're trying to stop me and to control me. And that has to do, of course, with the fact that the partner who doesn't want to try it, they don't understand that there's nothing to be threatened. It's just two people who can be absolutely comfortable being friends and just having some physical contact, holding hands on the shoulder and just moving to the beat. There's nothing, it doesn't have to be something more than that. And once you take the step to get into that environment, you see actually that maybe I was thinking about consequences too much, overthinking, right?
Yeah.
But I know also of a couple who, indeed, one of them did not like to dance, but they were absolutely very happy with their partner to do that. And so every time they were indeed coming together and talking about their different experiences and their different passions. And it was that was one way for them to keep their spark alive.
Yeah.
Enjoy each other's company. It's always these new experiences and new thoughts and new perspectives that they were bringing into their conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's what some people miss, isn't it? Well, they give it up, or they feel, or they demand their partner gives it up because they don't like it, therefore they can't see why. And I think that's a shame, because, as you say, it brings that spark back into it. There's something more to discuss or think about or embrace. So even if you don't like it, even if it's something like, I mean, I'm not a football fan at all, but if somebody enjoys football, then there's got to be something you can talk about afterwards, and just the person comes, the football fan comes home, they're feeling elated because they've had a good time, so that they're bringing an energy into the relationship that is different as well. So yeah,
absolutely, because I think there's always a way to appreciate another person's experience. I think there is always a possibility to find a commonality in how we see the world and how they see it. Like, I'm not a football fan either, but potentially, let's say there was a conversation with a partner about football, we could talk about strategy, for instance, or teamwork, or it could be about leadership, or it could be about friendships on the football field. Yeah. There's so many ways to look at an experience that somebody's sharing. It doesn't have to be only one, that the thought of that this is a sport and it's a ball being kicked in the goalpost. Like, there's so many dimensions to it.
Yeah, even asking your partner, what does it feel like when you go to the game? Or
Absolutely.
I think exploring even around that, because there are what's it like there? How do you feel there? Who do you meet? I mean, what is it about that team player that you really enjoy? What is it that you admire in that team member? What do they do that's different? What is it? As you say, there are lots of different, but I think people just have sometimes just that tunnel vision, that they just say, oh, it's football, and yet they don't even bother to kind of explore it a little bit and ask their partner, what is it that you love about football?
Absolutely.
Even at that level. So what is there one thing that people could take away with them today that they could put into action, or what is one suggestion? you could share?
I think there's this thought that relationships are difficult, and they have this that they have a lot of work that needs to be done. But it's also, the truth is that actually relationships are very easy. They become very easy once we realize that perhaps the way we grew up didn't facilitate us understanding them or knowing very quickly how to handle them. But once we make the shift towards, it's not so much about what we want, it's about what our partner wants and what would help the experience we share to be even better. I think this is what shifts things very quickly. So it's about being willing to see the world, or to see the relationships from our partner's perspective, and do what we can to help it blossom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and seeing, as you say, I think seeing it from their perspective, asking them, I think being curious, being interested, I mean, that's a big thing, isn't it? Yeah. Great advice, great.
Thank you.
Everyone, all your details, contact details will be in the show notes, but what is an easy way of getting in touch with you, Constantina?
The easiest way would be via email. So if they use constantina@thelantern.uk, it would be indeed the easiest way to reach me. I check my emails daily, and I'm very happy to reply in person. So absolutely, yeah, it'd be great to talk.
Great. Thank you so much for being a guest today.
Thank you for having me.
Talking. You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.